I got to say, New Amsterdam Radio is brought to you part by Anchor FM. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? You see, when I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? And most importantly, I don't want to deal with cables and wires and all those things. You see, the answer to every single one of these questions is pretty simple. Anchor. Anchor is the one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And you can use your phone, which is pretty awesome. Now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. So if you ever wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. From the streets to the skyline, this is New Amsterdam, and this is New Amsterdam Radio. Hello everyone, Flobo boys, back here again, sitting down with creatives to understand what makes them tick and their process and their perspective. I have to do my weekly thank yous, and thank you for listening to the show, downloading the podcast, streaming it wherever you stream your podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, Overcast, YouTube, and telling a friend about the show. That's how the show really grows, and I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it's growing little by little, at the same time, leaps and bounds, because I have very small gates of expectations, but that's what happens. When you have expectations, they come back double, triple, and quadruple fold. You just feel that much warm inside. On today's episode, I'm sitting with Jack Farmer, a really good friend of mine, which is funny to say, not in any bad way, but if you looked at us, you wouldn't think that we would be friends. You would think that we'd be on two different planes, but bound together by a love of professional wrestling, a love for going out there and being entrepreneurial, and a love for being accountable has almost made us kindred spirits in that regard. And it was a pleasure for me to get the interview with Jack, especially now because on the day it's airing on his birthday. So after listening to the interview, just make sure you hit him up today to say, hey, I know you're the birthday boy, and you're on New Amsterdam Radio. NewAmsterdam.com is a website. We can see the archive of all the episodes in the series. And if you want to hear the full, complete, unabridged interview with Jack Farmer, all the other unabridged interviews are available at Patreon. Patreon.com/Flobo Boys. It's raw. It's uncut. You don't have to worry about time limits and all of that. Without further ado, though, it's Jack Farmer on New Amsterdam Radio. This is New Amsterdam Radio. It's your host, Flobo Boys, and I want to thank everyone on the Patreon for supporting the brand, supporting the show, supporting this guy as he continues the journey of being a content creator. But being joined today is also a content creator, a good friend of mine, an advisor sometimes. He cracks the whip when he needs to. He's encouraging when he feels like it. Give it up for the man who calls himself the Hall of Farmer, Jack Farmer. How you doing, sir?
I'm having a great day. I am ahead in my water drinking, which is always a good sign. You should always drink more water, Flobo. We all need more water. I struggle with it, but today I'm kind of ahead of schedule. I think I'm going to get all my water in for the day.
So this time last year, if I can divulge a little bit, that this was kind of like the beginning of your broadcasting side. I mean, you had experience with a microphone, you could project, you had the personality, but you putting it on wax, right? You putting this was about a year or so. Since then, we've seen not only your personal growth, I've seen your personal growth, but we're seeing a little bit of the Jack Farmer brand here. Let's talk about this YouTube page I've seen now. Jack Farmer on his own YouTube page. Where's that going? What's the decision for you to make the page, and what's happening down the pipe?
So, as you know, I was a DJ and an MC first and foremost, and then what I wanted to do and what I was always wanting the next step to be was I wanted to host big concerts, like those. I imagine like a Woodstock where you have the person that comes out and says, up next, ladies and gentlemen, it's Green Day, or whatever the case is, and then they come out and
everyone at the Social Senior Center goes, oh my gosh, Green Day.
I don't know why. I like Green Day growing up, so that's the one I picked. Sorry. It's Kanye, whatever. So
President West to you.
Which I guess, yeah, it's President West. So I wanted to do that. And I realized that most of the people that had those kinds of opportunities were people that had radio shows. So I started asking myself, I'm a DJ that does live events. Why don't I start looking at radio shows or broadcasting? That's when you helped me get in touch with AfterBuzz. And through AfterBuzz, obviously, had great opportunity to host a lot of their wrestling and sports shows, along with some of the other shows. Now, AfterBuzz has recently gone on hiatus, and so it's time to branch off and create my own channel and create my own content, as we say. And so getting the YouTube page going, I'm hoping to make it a hub for all sorts of wrestling chat, whether it be reviews, whether it be opinions, whether it be projections, things like that. I don't know. It's still sort of living and breathing. We'll see where that goes. I can't really say for sure. I've never really had a plan with where I want things to go. I just sort of work with what I got and try to keep pushing forward. So we'll see.
One of the more spirited discussions we've ever had, and if it's too personal, I mean, you can totally not talk about it, but I want to anyway. One of the most, but think about it, Jack. We never did anything super deep, right? So
right.
The most spirited debates we had I want our listeners to hear this because I think it's a very cool perspective from you, and that is, you don't appreciate when someone refers to what you do in your position in life as lucky. And I wanted to see why that was when it comes to everything, right? Like, why is being lucky not the best way to describe your journey, good sir?
Oh, so, yeah, that is. I get heated about that sometimes. We did have a pretty spirited discussion about this. I will say there is a difference between lucky and fortunate. I think because people will say you're lucky because I think people don't understand how much work goes into everything that you do. Like you yourself, Flobo, one day you're going to have a show. You're going to be on like NBC hosting a show, and people are going to say, Flobo, you're so lucky that you got this job. And when they say that, it is incredibly disrespectful, in my opinion, to all the things you're doing before. Like, you're not getting paid for this interview right now. You're not getting paid for a ton of things that you're doing, but you're putting in the time, you're working on it. You go back and listen to yourself so you can improve what you're doing. You get other people's opinions. You have mentors. You're doing all this stuff to get to the next level. So when someone says you're lucky for making it, to me, it's like you didn't buy a lottery ticket and cash in. Like, you put the work in. Now, again, fortunate, like certain things broke your way, so you're able to make it. But luck, to me, luck implies that you didn't do anything to get there. Luck implies that you stumbled into it, and lo and behold, here you are. Fortunate, which I know doesn't sound different, but to me, fortunate just means it worked out. Your investment worked out, but you still worked to get there. And so I get offended when people say you're lucky you were on AfterBuzz, or you're lucky you get to talk about pro wrestling, or you're lucky you get to DJ. Because people weren't calling me lucky when I left my job to DJ full time originally, as you know.
You're so lucky if you got employed.
you know that first day you wake up as a business owner without a job is not a lucky feeling.
No, it isn't.
And
Thanksgiving Day in my case. It was Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah. And so, first off, everyone's telling you you're stupid when you do that. Everyone's like, you're so stupid. Why did you do that? Why did you give up a sure thing? I can't believe you're doing this. You can always go back and get another job. And they're talking you out of it. And then success clicks. And everyone's like, oh, you're so lucky. It's like, what are you talking about? You naysayed me to death the whole time.
Right.
I was struggling with nothing, looking at the bank account without seeing a surefire check coming in. But I found a way to make it work. And now you're saying I'm lucky. It drives me nuts. It gets me heated. I mean, again, I could have failed, so I'm fortunate. But I certainly don't say it's lucky. There's tons of work that goes into it. LeBron James isn't lucky he's playing basketball at the level he's playing it at. He's fortunate that he's tall, and he's fortunate that certain things broke his way.
Right.
But he's certainly not lucky he's the best player going right now.
Guys, Jack Farmer's LeBron James confirmed. I'm so glad that just broke live. Wow. I mean, it's interesting because I never thought of it that way. I guess maybe it's me personally. I don't want to make it an institutional thing. But my success, when it's marginalized, I don't get hit with the lucky word. I get usually hit with like affirmative action hire, or it's because we need more diversity, right? So I guess I was disgruntled in that way. And I think hearing that perspective, the lucky thing, I can see it. I can see it almost negates like the long sleepless nights, the long nights that you don't sleep,
right.
Going, how are the bills going to get paid or something along those lines. And I guess I kind of shifted my perspective on things too. So now I'm also triggered when people say that I'm lucky. Question for you though. It is something that I've heard people debate both sides of this. So there's no right or wrong answer, but do you consider yourself self-made? Why or why not?
Ooh, that's a good question to follow up the lucky comment.
Hey!
No, I'm not self-made at all. I am purely the was it when you bring a bunch of different people, the amalgamation, the conglomeration,
Sure.
I don't know if I'm using the right words, but
I don't know where you're going with.
Basically, I've taken from a lot of people over the years and what they have done and what I've learned from them. I've learned from you. I've learned from other hosts I've worked with. I've learned from different just coaches and in my life, like in high school, my cross country coaches. I've learned from my bosses over the years. I've learned from other DJs. I've learned from other hosts. So there's no way am I self-made. There's so many people that have helped me get to where I am today. Without them, I'd be nothing. 100%. And I also, of course, first and foremost, have to say that I've got great parents who have always been supportive. My mom still watches every show I do, even though she does. My mom, bless her heart, does not watch wrestling. Never watched wrestling. No idea what's going on in wrestling. She still watches my AfterBuzz shows every week.
Really? Every week?
Yep, she says It's just like having you back at home. So I love my mom. She's super supportive. She will watch an AEW Dynamite show and me talk about Jon Moxley. She's never seen Jon Moxley in her life. Couldn't pick him out of a lineup, but she'll still listen to me talk about him. I've just had support all around, and so no way is it on my own. I'm very fortunate to have these people in my life.
I never met your mom, but I got super warm and fuzzies hearing that story. She's probably like, I love you, Jack, but that Monday show, that guy who talks too fast, I don't like that much. But I don't care. Jack Farmer's mom is amazing. Also, we're talking about your support network and system and the bullpen, if you will. You live in a too creative household. Don't want to get too into your personal life, but you are a spoken for individual. Has that tempered your approach a bit? Living in a world where your partner in crime is also creative, as opposed to being single or being with someone who's an accountant or something like that. Has that really changed your outlook on the process?
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of people who have supported me, my girlfriend, by the way, having her in my life is a huge reason why I've been able to do some of the things I can do. So shout out to Emmy. She's amazing and really a huge, my biggest fan, I'd say, my biggest supporter there. It has, yeah. Mom takes second place. No, so 1A and 1B, Mom and Emmy. You guys are 1A and 1B. But Emmy, so she is a creative, and she's also kind of a Renaissance woman in the sense that she can sort of do it all. She can sing, she can dance, she's very artistic visually. She does hair and makeup. She works also for a large company doing photo editing. So everyone has probably seen some of her work somewhere. She's also gotten to do some cool stuff working with celebrities and things like that. So, which actually isn't that impressive outside of LA, maybe. I feel like in LA, everyone's connected to a celebrity somehow. But she,
me apparently.
No, you know me. No,
that's true. True, you gotta be there. Yeah.
I'm joking, but it's the thing is we're very different in our skill sets. She's got such an attention to detail and such a strong, good eye. And that's my weakness is detail and a strong eye. So a lot of times she'll catch the things I miss, where I think I'm pretty good at being sort of the person that looks at the bigger picture. And so I think we complement each other. She compliments me. I don't know if I compliment her, but she definitely compliments me.
I was about to say, man, I think when we work together, you're way more detailed than I am. I mean, I take notes, but like you have rundowns for our shows and we have like processes and stuff, man. I think you're pretty detail-oriented.
I like to think so. That's something I definitely get from my mom, by the way. My mom is the most meticulous, detailed person I've ever met in my life. Let me put it this way. She has so for Christmas, she'll buy me and my 3 sisters, she buys us gifts. She keeps a list. So she spends not only the exact same amount on all of us every year, but it's the same number of boxes to open. So it's not like, if I was to get one big expensive present, she would make sure I get a bunch of little presents to make sure I'm opening the same number of boxes as my sisters. And if the numbers don't even out exactly every year, she'll keep tally. And so it'll like in 2016, Jack got $50 more. So for the next 4 years, I'm going to take $10 off of whatever I spent. You know what I mean? So it evens out.
Sports deal, like it's a 5-year, $3,000 Christmas deal.
She's super detailed, and she does Christmas dinner for the family, and she literally has notebooks of like exactly how to run everything, and she's so detailed with all this stuff. I can't even dream of being that detailed.
Difficult?
I'm not saying difficult. I was going to say it's so difficult for me. I can only dream about being that detail oriented, but she has it like she's just a machine. She runs her own business, so I think maybe it's just built in that way with her, but she's just a machine on planning and being detailed. And I think I've taken some of that, and I'm thankful for that as well. But yeah, she is Flobo, one of these days, I'm going to have to take a few photos of her notebooks on how to run Christmas dinner, just so you can see how detailed she is. Because it's not like written on, by the way, it's also not written on like regular line notebook paper. It's like on graph paper, so she can draw lines and like circle things. It's insane. It's so impressive.
Archaeologists would be so confused. Like, what is going on here? Christmas dinner? Why are there schematics? I don't know why.
Yeah.
So we're actually recording this July 13th, and New Amsterdam Radio airs every Thursday. But this episode will be special because we're releasing it on your birthday of July 21st. So this is going to be a special edition of New Amsterdam Radio with the man himself, Jack Farmer. And, I've gushed about you before. But I really want to say this, man, from the bottom of my heart. This is for all the creatives out there. I was a guy that liked to do things. People say I'm a getter, but I really had no direction. Like you, I responded to an ad on ZipRecruiter. I went to a creepy guy's office, and I became a DJ. And we were coworkers for about a year and a half. And when I got laid off on that Thanksgiving day, probably because I didn't keep any notes of how to make dinner that night, I got a call from my job saying, day job's over, get the hell out. I didn't know what to do. And my man Jack told me, look, you can start doing this, change your Instagram this, delete your website, no one cares about your weekly poetry. You're now a DJ now in Southern California. And I'll tell you what, I am not out of the woods yet. It's still a battle every month, especially with the global pandemic. But I always tell people that, you taught me how to fish. You put food on my table. And I'm so glad I get to be here on your virtual birthday, even though it's not your birthday today. It will be your birthday eventually. And yeah, man, you've been a good friend, confidant, and sometimes rival, especially when it comes to tournaments and all that. And I want to thank you. But do you have any plans of celebrating, I guess, this year, and any kind of bucket list items for the next 365 days?
Man, I didn't teach you to fish at all. I just showed you where the fishing spots are. That's all I did. You already. I want everyone to envision this guy saying, "You taught me to fish," when he approaches me like some guy with a harpoon ready to spearfish himself already, as he's got like fish lined up on the harpoon. He's like, "Teach me to fish."
Yeah,
no, you knew how to fish already. I just said, "Hey, this is a good spot. Try over here." That's all I did. But as far as celebrating my birthday, by the way, you got the birthday right. I don't publicize that very often, so good on you. It is coming, whether I like it or not.
Slow down time, bro. Yeah.
It is so funny how there's that weird change of life where you're like, I can't wait for my birthday. I can't wait for my birthday. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. No, it's my birthday. Stop.
It's just a Tuesday, It's just.
So it is funny. I don't really do a lot of celebrating on my birthday. I used to go out and like try to party and stuff. I quit drinking a little over a year ago. But even before that, like when you don't drink, it feels like for some reason it's like you don't like go out and rage anymore or like do that kind of stuff as hard anymore. And so I got really basic. Like I like just like go see a movie and eat poorly. That's like what I like to do on my birthday. So I'll probably go get like Krispy Kreme donuts and like rent a movie or something. I'm pretty simple for my birthday.
Yeah. Do you do any kind of like special foods that make that cut? Like I don't usually have beef Wellington, but on my birthday I go for it, for example.
No, I don't have anything that like it's really what I'm in the mood for. Like I think last year for my birthday, this is so weird, but I was like I wanted I think peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or something, and so I made a bunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I love childish food. I love candy. I love sweets. I love donuts. I love sugary things. I can't remember what I did on my birthday last year, but I don't really do anything that big. You know what? I may have actually last year. Was it a Monday? Was the 21st on a Monday? Did I work at AfterBuzz on my birthday last year? I don't think I did.
Because it's a leap year. So it
you're right. It would have been a Sunday. So I don't think I did work on my birthday. I don't know what I did. I don't know. I don't do it. I'll usually get something incredibly unhealthy to eat and watch a movie that's terrible. I like bad movies. Not bad movies as in like The Room, but just bad movies that most people would be like, this is a stupid movie.
I just saw Nighthawk, the one with Stallone from like back in the 70s.
Oh,
yeah.
Love it.
It's pretty terrible too. Billy D. Williams is in it. You're like, well, what the? This is
Billy D. Williams.
Code 45 every time. But yo, Jack, I want to say thank you so much for being on this episode of New Amsterdam Radio. As I always say this on our former network now, where can the world find you online?
You can find me at jackcfarmer.com as well as at realjackfarmer across all social media. You can also check me out on Wrestling with Your Questions with Flobo right here every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Every now and again, I like to pop in on the Everything tournament as well every Tuesday. And that is probably one of my favorite things going right now. That's a good, fun show to be a part of. If you don't know what it is, check it out. I'm sure you're going to talk all about that in just a second. But right now, those are the things. Keep in tune to my Twitter specifically because a bunch of new announcements may be coming soon. And that's what we call a tease, ladies and gentlemen.
I love teases. Yeah, the Everything Tournament is a show that myself and Evan Mack and How Do You Mac are part of. It's a pop culture tournament where we have special guests where Jack Farmer's on. I shake my head every time everyone mentions it because this has been a smear campaign on social media at the Everything Tournament that I am a hater and a cheater of this pop culture tournament with no rules. How can you cheat if there's no rules? That's the only reason why. But I'm so glad you're on the show too because we have that same connection. Like, hey, look, we were in that network together and now we're having fun outside of school hours. But yeah, last question for you. I'm a firm believer in this motto, and I teased you earlier before, is make your hometown proud. Do you have a motto or an axiom or a mantra before you perform or hit on stage or go out?
So I do, and I say at the end, or I used to say at the end of all the AEW shows, and I guess I say at the end of all the Wrestling with Your Question episodes too. It's a saying that my grandma used to say years ago, and it was it's something that I've always felt applies at any given moment. It always works. It's always good advice. There's never been a moment in my life that I felt like it doesn't apply, and that is do your best and be yourself. And so that's what I do. I just try to think about, am I doing my best and am I being myself? And so that's my motto.
You know, for so many creatives, it's really easy to get hung up on the creative side. I want to be the best florist out there. I want to be the best sculptor out there. But ultimately, art and commerce has a really deep relationship. You know, you need some sort of backing to create art, at least in the classical sense. That's where the word patronage comes from. But at the end of the day, you are creating for an audience, and you always have to determine what that audience is. And I like the fact that Jack as taking his experience on the business side of things to really apply it to what he's working on and what he's developing with his relationship with Broster's Coffee, for example, or being so detail oriented he wants to follow up on the next potential big idea. And I think a lot of us can learn from that sometimes it's not healthy to just focus on the art sometimes. Not all the time. You don't want to become a shill. But I do think there's a balance there. And Jack shows us that it's okay to think about who's this for. It's okay to think about how can I grow? How can I even monetize what I'm doing? But yeah, I love the fact that I got to rag Jack Farmer on all around his birthday. You can follow him on social media. Tell him Flobito sent you. New Amsterdam Radio is back next week. Big shows planned during the summer. This quarantine part 2 here in Southern California, but it's all good because it doesn't matter where in the world you're listening to New Amsterdam Radio. As long as you're creative, you are a citizen. Until next time, as always, the city is yours.